So as you can tell by the Kingdom Hearts necklace that this is going to be a gaming related video. I think it's appropriate to be wearing this considering how much I love games, and since this particular video is going to be dealing with the discussion of games. As I mentioned before on the channel, I really enjoy being able to play games for the story aspects of the characters, for different modes of storytelling, so it felt appropriate to be able to reflect on the Game Awards for 2023 on my channel, to kind of be hyped about it, how much I've looked forward to being able to see who the nominees were and who ended up winning, and also watching the collective ceremony as well, but we'll get into that in this video. Hi everyone, my name is Rose, also known as TA Summers. Welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be a reaction to the Game Awards in 2023, and by the time that this video goes up, it's going to be probably a couple of weeks out from when it originally aired. So it's going to be a relatively short video because I'm really just reacting to the nominees and winners of each category. As well, I did originally want to do a second part to this video where I'm reflecting on 3 books that I was able to do in a reading vlog, but unfortunately that didn't pan out because I wasn't feeling well at the time I covered some of these books. So what I decided to do is just kind of give reflections on 2 of the books that I was able to pick up, as well as kind of like the progress update for the 3rd that I picked up as well. And in the spectrum of things, I feel like I can probably do a more comprehensive review of those books in their own videos, but just it's going to be a general reflection of what I read. So that gives you the layout of what this video is going to be. So without further ado, let's go ahead and begin. So I'm going to be doing a dual screen recording. As you can probably tell from the last video, I recorded my reactions to the Goodreads Choice Awards via my laptop camera, which is a little bit lower quality than my phone camera. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to see if I can do kind of like a dual screen, and hopefully like it should sync up with respect to my editing of this video. We're going to see how it goes. If for whatever reason it decides to fail, like what I'll do is I'll put up the list of nominees and the winner in the corner for your reference as I read things out, and we're just going to go through each of the categories and you can hear my thoughts on each of them, at least in terms of the games that I was able to play or any nominees that might have been missed out that I've had the chance to play in terms of games. And unfortunately, it hasn't been many this year, but I'm hoping to be able to catch up. I did buy a PS5 this past year, namely for Final Fantasy 16, and like you'll probably hear me talk about that even in the spoiler review of my thoughts on Final Fantasy 16, but like I've since added massive amounts of PS5 games to my collection, and I can talk about that in another video as well. But I've also played the Nintendo Switch. I've also played a couple of Steam games, but I think most of these games are ones that I've heard of, but some of them I have not had the opportunity to play yet. So we're going to see how it goes, and I hope you enjoy. So let's see if I can go ahead and start the recording on my laptop to be able to reflect on these. And I think this came from gameshub.com in terms of the list of the winners and the finalists. So we're gonna kind of start there. Alrighty, so let's see. We're gonna start with Game of the Year because that was the biggest award that was given out for the award ceremony. So the nominees were Alan Wake 2 from Remedy Entertainment from Epic Games Publishing, Baldur's Gate 3 from Larian Studios, Marvel Spider-Man 2 from Insomniac Games, Resident Evil 4 from Capcom, Super Mario Bros. Wonder from Nintendo, and The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. So I'm not surprised at any of the nominees in this particular category. I'm kind of bummed that they left out several games, including Final Fantasy 16 from Game of the Year, which I kind of don't really understand that, but you know, it is what it is. But the winner of this, I am not surprised at all. It ended up being Baldur's Gate 3, which I've heard a lot of very good things about Baldur's Gate Gate 3. I have not had the opportunity to play it. I literally just purchased it not too long ago to be able to experience it for myself for things. But I've heard so much hype and enthusiasm for it and praise for it, so I'm definitely excited to be able to play it. I have it on the PS5, so we'll see how it goes. If I end up finishing it after playing through it, then I will let you know my thoughts and maybe even give a formal review on the channel of it once I get to it. But all of these I unfortunately have not had the opportunity to play. Alan Wake 2, I played the original Alan Wake many years ago. Don't think I actually finished the game. Like, I enjoyed it, but for whatever reason, I'm not 100% sure why I wasn't able to finish it. I also was interested in playing Alan Wake American Nightmare, but since that was an Xbox exclusive, I never had the opportunity to play it, so I had to watch playthroughs of that. But I hope they port it over to one of the other platforms in terms of things and being able to experience it for myself. But Alan Wake it overall has a really strong narrative behind it, and I've heard the enthusiasm for Alan Wake 2. I'm excited to be able to play it. I have not had the opportunity to pick it up just yet, but I figure I would probably go through the first Alan Wake game before I even touch that. So once I do, then I can reflect on it and give you all my thoughts. Marvel Spider-Man 2. I've heard a lot of good things about Marvel Spider-Man 2, though I have not finished the first one. That's number one. Yes, I know. I have a lot of games, only so much time to be able to play them, but I have played through a good portion of the original Spider-Man, and I had trophies associated with OG Spider-Man for the PS4, but unfortunately it was associated with one of my old accounts, which I've since closed, so I have to basically play through everything that I already played through on my other regular account because it didn't record anything. But you know, it is what it is, and I do want to be able to play through Marvel Spider-Man as well as Miles Morales before I even touch Spider-Man 2, but that'll be coming. Super Mario Bros. Wonder I've heard good things about, but I have not had the opportunity to pick that up. And then Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, I have not had the opportunity to pick up yet. And I do have Breath of the Wild. I do need to finish playing through Breath of the Wild before I jump into Tears of the Kingdom, but I'm excited to be able to finish that when I can do so and give my thoughts about it. But that's Game of the Year. I'm glad that Baldur's Gate did take it in terms of like the praise that I've heard about it, but I'm not mad. I'm not surprised, and I'm not mad about that at all. So the second category is Best Game Direction. Nominees are Alan Wake 2, Baldur's Gate 3, Marvel Spider-Man 2, Super Mario Bros. Wonder, and The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. So here's kind of where I have a little bit of issues, because I feel like there could have been even more games than just some of the bigger titles that could have been nominated in each of these different categories. Not that I'm complaining, because I feel like the game direction for each of these were strong from what I've heard of them. I have not played any of them yet, but I just feel like in terms of game direction, there could have been even more selection of nominees to give other people a chance to be able to showcase, you know, like how good they are. But, you know, I'm not going to complain about the games that are nominated here, because they all seem like they're really strong games. So the winner for Best Game Direction was Alan Wake 2. Alan Wake 2 was a big winner for the night for the Game Awards, which I'm glad to hear, and I can't wait to be able to play it. But I don't have anything else to say about that, because I have not played these respective games. But, you know, I can't be mad about Alan Wake 2 winning, and I've heard a lot of good things about it. Third category is Best Adaptation, and the nominees for that were Castlevania Nocturne, Gran Turismo, The Last of Us, the Super Mario Bros. Movie, and Twisted Metal. So I am not surprised that the winner of this ended up being The Last of Us. I've heard I have not caught up with my watch of Castlevania to be able to get to Nocturne, but I do plan on watching it. and it is on Netflix, so that is in my queue to be able to watch, but I have not gotten around to it. Gran Turismo, that is the movie that recently came out. I have not had the opportunity to be able to see that, so I don't know much about how people reacted to it, but it did surprise me that they were making a movie for it, so I guess that's one thing to say. The Last of Us, I've seen part of on HBO, and based on what I've seen of it so far, I am not surprised that it won this particular category. It was very well done in terms of the production and the casting and everything else. They did a really good job with it. The Super Mario Brothers movie, I did see that in theaters with my twin and my cousin, and I felt that was a more solid movie than I was expecting it to be. It was fun to watch. Did I think among these it deserved to be the best adaptation? I probably would disagree, but it was still a fun movie, and it was a much better movie than I expected it to be in terms of the casting and how charming the soundtrack and the cast of characters were in terms of their respective roles. So, I definitely got my money's worth when I went to see it in theaters, and I'm glad I had the opportunity to see it. And then Twisted Metal, I've heard a little bit about with Anthony Mackie, and I have not had the opportunity to be able to see it. It's on Peacock. I do have it on my queue to be able to watch at least, but I've heard from a few people that that's a more fun adaptation than people were expecting it to be, so we'll see how it goes. And it was interesting to see Anthony Mackie at the Game Awards as well in terms of things. I think he had announced one of the categories that had won in terms of things, so that was fun to be able to see. But Last of Us, I'm not surprised at all that it ended up winning that category for Best Adaptation. So the next category is Best Narrative, and this had several heavy hitters, so I feel like it could have gone any way, in terms of things, but the winner was definitely surprising. So the nominees were Alan Wake 2, Baldur's Gate 3, Cyberpunk 2077 Phantom Liberty, that is the DLC that features Idris Elba as one of the highlights to that particular DLC for the game. There's Final Fantasy 16, which I'm not surprised it's on here, and Marvel Spider-Man 2. And the winner, actually to my surprise, pleasant surprise mind you, is Alan Wake 2. Now, I think you can make a case in terms of the narration for, based on what I know about Alan Wake in terms of the writing and how it does focus on certain things with respect to his respective narrative. It's an interesting narrative. It's an engaging narrative. Do I agree with it winning over Final Fantasy 16? It depends, because I feel like you can't really compare them. Baldur's Gate 3, I feel like every game in this particular category has a strength of narrative that distinguishes it from the others in terms of things, so I think you can't compare them, which is why I said this is a heavy hitter category. I think any of these could have won easily. I don't know about Marvel Spider-Man 2, because I've heard from what some people had told me that the game was a bit short in terms of the overarching narrative for being able to do certain things and that kind of thing. But then again, Spider-Man 2 cleaned up at the PlayStation Awards, so your mileage may vary in terms of the type of game you play. But I'm pleasantly surprised. Not mad about it in terms of Alan Wake 2. I'm glad that Alan Wake is being recognized in the way that it is. So I'm excited to be able to play that game. Of these, the only one that I have directly played so far is Final Fantasy 16, and then I've started a little bit of Cyberpunk 2077, the mainline game. So it will probably be a little while before I get to Phantom Liberty, but good on Alan Wake. Best Art Direction. So the nominees for this particular category were Alan Wake 2, Hi-Fi Rush, Lies of P, Super Mario Bros. Wonder, and The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. So art direction. That was a pleasant surprise as well, because the winner ended up being Alan Wake 2. And I'm not, as I mentioned before, I haven't played it yet, but it's interesting in terms of how the art direction for Alan Wake 2. I haven't played the game, so I can't reflect on it, but I wonder if it had to do with several different factors in terms of how they did the sequences, including the music sequence for Herald of Darkness, which I heard a lot of people were pleasantly surprised by. But that's cool. That's really cool. Hi-Fi Rush, I have not had the opportunity to play yet. I do have it on Steam, though, and I'm excited to be able to play it because I've heard that it does a great job of blending visuals with music and the gameplay, and that a lot of people responded well to it. So I'm excited to be able to play that. Lies of P, I think, is the Pinocchio game, which I have not had the opportunity to play or pick up yet, but I've heard, what little I've heard about it, like, has had good feedback, but I still kind of want to reserve judgment before I reflect too much on that because I have not had the opportunity to play it. Super Mario Brothers Wonder, I've heard good things about it as well, but I have not picked that up yet. And then Tears of the Kingdom, I'm not surprised to see it on here with the art direction. My experience has solely been with Breath of the Wild. So, but I don't know, like, in terms of graphically, like, if they chose to do anything different for Tears of the Kingdom. It looks, so far from what I could tell, it looks like it's doing, it is pretty consistent with the first game, but I have not had the opportunity to play it yet or pick it up yet. Okay, now we get into best score in music, and so I'm going to go on a little bit of a rant here because I feel like with these respective nominees and taking consideration of certain things, I feel like you can separate the score of a game from its music or having like a best song. So I really feel like they could have split this into two different categories. And I know that the Game Awards tries to condense things, like, to kind of like save time and things, but I feel like if they did split it for the category, it would have been like different winners in terms of the respective categories for what they said. So bearing that in mind, I'm going to read off the nominees and the winner. The best score in music was Alan Wake 2, Baldur's Gate 3, Final Fantasy 16, Hi-Fi Rush, and The Legend of Zelda: The Tears of the Kingdom. So all of those are very strong nominees, and I feel like the right person won for this respective category with Final Fantasy 16. I've said this before in my non-spoiler review of Final Fantasy 16. The soundtrack really knocked it out of the park when I played it. Like, it did such a great job of providing the ambiance for the gameplay from the different locations that you go to, from just like the different emotional resonances with the characters and with respect to just standing out in general. For me, it felt consistent with the quality of other Final Fantasy titles, and I was very glad, very happy. I was screaming when I heard the announcement that this had won for Best Score in Music, but let me put an asterisk to that because I know there were people who were disappointed that Alan Wake 2 didn't get this, especially with what Poets of the Fall, Old Gods Asgard did with Herald of Darkness, as well as the overarching score to Alan Wake 2. But here's where I'll say like why I think this could have been split into two different categories. I definitely think that best score could have gone on to Final Fantasy 16, and then if there was a category for best song, Herald of Darkness by Old Gods of Asgard would have taken it. Like, and I do know that there were very strong songs from each of the respective other nominees in this category, from Baldur's Gate, Hi-Fi Rush, and Tears of the Kingdom. But I think if there was a best song category, I think Herald of Darkness would have taken it. Even with like some of the vocal tracks, like Find the Flame. I think Ben Starr does it a little bit better than me, but I think there may have been songs that were nominated for best song that would have probably crossed from this category. But I think if there was a best song category overall, I think Herald of Darkness would have won it in terms of things. So I'm definitely happy that Final Fantasy 16 won for best score in music, but I do think as a suggestion for the Game Awards, that they should really separate score from song or score from music, because they are different aspects that contribute to the game in terms of things, and they should be considered in terms of their own merits, in terms of things like that. So that's just my spiel. I don't know if that's something that people would agree with or not, but that's just how I feel about it. So we're also going to talk about Best Audio Design, which this is interesting because I'm guessing from audio design in terms of how music is used within a game, and it may be the reason why they did not separate score from song or what have you for the previous category. But I think Best Audio Design is just basically how the audio is used in the game. So the nominees for this were Alan Wake 2, Dead Space, Hi-Fi Rush, Marvel Spider-Man 2, and Resident Evil 4. Okay, so it's not just music, it's basically how the audio translates with respect to the overarching game. So, okay, so that makes sense. So, scratch what I said before. But the winner of this ended up being for Hi-Fi Rush, which that actually surprised me, but given how music is used so intimately with that respective game, I'm not surprised that it won for Best Audio Design. You know, it seems like it was well deserved. I'm excited to be able to play that. I have not touched it yet, but I'm excited to be able to play it. Something that I could make an argument for in terms of Best Audio Design, if you have it's hard to compare something like Hi-Fi Rush with horror games, specifically like Resident Evil 4, which is a remake, as well as Dead Space, which is also a remake, and then Alan Wake 2, which is new, where you could have that ambiance in terms of having Alan fighting the darkness as he's going through the different stages in that respective game. From what I know about, I don't know much about it in terms of being able to reflect fully on it. And then Marvel Spider-Man 2, I don't know how the audio is done with respect to that game, but easily I feel like if it wasn't Hi-Fi Rush, it could have been Alan Wake 2, it could have been Dead Space, it could have been Resident Evil 4. I'm not sure about Spider-Man 2 in terms of the overall audio design, because I don't know, comparatively speaking, how it functions with respect to how the audio was done for certain sequences for that game. But you know, it could have easily been any of these. Probably say for Spider-Man 2 in terms of audio design, because I'm thinking about logically in terms of how audio is used within these respective games for tone and for different things. But you know, it is what it is. All right, best performance. Okay, so here's another rant that I'll go on in terms of things, because I feel like there should be two different categories for best performance as well as best supporting performance. And keep that in mind as I'm reading off the nominees and announce the winner, because I think that's going to make a difference. So best performance in terms of the nominees were Ben Starr for Final Fantasy 16, who plays Clive, Cameron Monaghan for Star Wars Jedi Survivor, Idris Elba for Cyberpunk 2077 Phantom Liberty, Melanie Libbert from Alan Wake 2, Neil Newbin from Baldur's Gate 3, and Yuri Lowenthal for Marvel Spider-Man 2. And the winner of this ended up being Neil Newbin for Baldur's Gate 3. So I'm going to say this, in terms of this, I really do think Ben Starr deserved best performance for the 120% that he gave to Clive's performance in Final Fantasy 16. And it's kind of hard to compare when you're looking at the best performance category, when it's a list of both mainline people who are representing the main characters versus secondary characters who stood out very well. And from what I understand, Neil Newbin was a strong secondary character in terms of the performance that was made. So for me, I really think they should have split this into best performance and best supporting performance, because I think either Ben or Neil could have like taken those if they were two different categories. I have not played Baldur's Gate 3, so I can't reflect on the character that Neil plays, and I don't have a doubt that Neil was the person who it was a well-deserved honor. Like, this whole category was stacked, but I do think it would have been useful if they had a best performance and best supporting performance to be able to distinguish in terms of being able to give more people opportunities to be recognized for their work in terms of things. But, you know, Ben's a winner in my heart, but I also have to give props to Neil, because from what little I've seen in terms of clips and things like that, I don't know the rule specifically for that because I'm not familiar with Baldur's Gate. As like, I know the franchise, but I have not played that respective game to be able to reflect on it. Same thing with the other categories. I have not had the opportunity to play Star Wars Jedi Survivor, Cyberpunk 2077, as I mentioned before. I've just started the mainline game. I have not gotten to Phantom Liberty yet. And I have not gotten to Alan Wake 2 or Spider-Man 2 to be able to reflect on those. So those are my thoughts. They may be controversial. You know, like, if you're watching this, do you agree if that best performance and best supporting performance should be separated, or if they should be a part of the same category? Let me know your thoughts. So the next category is innovation and accessibility. And I actually really love this category because I love the fact that they're giving attention to accessibility in games. So we have several nominees here: Diablo 4, Forza Motorsport, Hi-Fi Rush, Marvel Spider-Man 2, Mortal Kombat 1, and Street Fighter 6. And the winner of this was Forza Motorsport. And I actually really like the attention given to what they chose to do with the Forza Motorsport in terms of accessibility. Like, I really like the acceptance speech of the representatives for that. And Forza Motorsport was made under Xbox Game Studios. Unfortunately, I have not had the opportunity to play that game, but I could easily see, like, from these nominees, which of these have I played? I have not gotten to Diablo 4 yet. I do have it in my library, though. Hi-Fi Rush, I still need to play. Spider-Man 2, I have not picked up yet. Mortal Kombat, I think I have picked up, but I have not had the opportunity to play it. And then Street Fighter 6, I have picked that up, but I have not had the opportunity to play it yet. But it's interesting and really cool that of what they were able to do with Forza Motorsport, and I respect the winner of this respective category, even though I have not had the opportunity to play it. And then the next category is games for impact. This one was also one that I really liked in terms of the focus for the Game Awards. And the nominees for that were A Space for the Unbound, Chance of Sonar, Goodbye Volcano High, Tchia, Terra Nil, and Venba. And of all of these, the only one that I had actually had the opportunity to be able to pick up was Venba, which that was really cute. I've also heard of Goodbye Volcano High. The winner of this was Tchia, and it looks really cute. I have not had the opportunity to play it, but I definitely want to after seeing some of the clips from it from the Games for Impact category. So that was really cool. That was really cool. I'm kind of sad that Venba lost out, but it was really like cool to be able to see that it was nominated. So that's awesome. Best ongoing game is the next category, and I think this is based, it's not community support, but it's basically the ongoing game that like has a large community of gamers, and I think all of these are online gaming communities that people find popular and they follow. So the nominees were Apex Legends, Cyberpunk 2077, Final Fantasy 14, Fortnite, and Genshin Impact. I would have thought, based on this, and I can already tell you right now, I don't do much online gaming, so I have not played any of these, but I know very well about them in terms of like what they're involved in, the community, and that sort of thing. But I would have thought Final Fantasy XIV or Genshin Impact would have won this one, but surprisingly, the winner of this was Cyberpunk 2077. And to me, I think this makes sense, and I'm definitely not mad about it. I think that it is respectable in terms of the choice, because the developers did a lot to build that respective game from where it had a tumultuous launch, and to build it into the game that it has become today, even with the DLC, like even before the DLC came. Listening to the community and being able to respond to their concerns and problems and issues, I think it made sense that it won for best ongoing game. I could have seen Final Fantasy XIV and Genshin Impact based on like the longevity and like people playing those. Maybe I could have seen Apex Legends or Fortnite, but like I'm not as familiar with Apex Legends or Fortnite in terms of the gaming communities. I know about them, but I'm not as familiar with them as what I've heard from friends and peers about Final Fantasy XIV as well as Genshin Impact. But you know what? I'm not mad about Cyberpunk 2077 taking that one. That seems really cool, and it makes sense given how much work they've given to that particular game. And now we get into best community support, which is interesting. So the nominees for that were Baldur's Gate 3, Cyberpunk 2077, Destiny's 2, Final Fantasy XIV, and No Man's Sky. I also thought that Final Fantasy XIV would have taken this one, but it ended up being Baldur's Gate 3. So that's really cool. That's really cool that Baldur's Gate won so many different categories in terms of things. I've heard really great things about it. In terms of these, I have not had the opportunity to, like I said, I'm not as much of an online gamer, but I've heard a lot of good things about, I am at least familiar with each of these different games and their community is and that sort of thing. So, good on Baldur's Gate. Best Independent Game. Oh, this was an interesting one, and I liked all the nominees, even though I have not had the opportunity to play them yet. The nominees were Cocoon, Dave the Diver, Dredge, Sea of Stars, and Viewfinder, and the winner of this ended up being Sea of Stars. I just picked up Sea of Stars because I heard so many good things about it in terms of being an RPG, turn-based, and the graphics look like they're so much fun to play. So I definitely picked that up to be able to play. Dave the Diver, I've also heard good things about. I have not heard too much about Cocoon, Dredge, or Viewfinder, but they're ones that are on my radar to be able to check out when I get the chance to do so. And then there's Best Debut Indie Game. We have Cocoon, Dredge, Pizza Tower, Vemba, and Viewfinder. And the only one that I'm basically familiar with in this is Venba, but the winner of this was Cocoon. So I'm definitely looking forward to being able to look more into each of these games when I have the opportunity to do so. But it looks like Cocoon, it looks like it might be a really good, cool game to be able to check out. It's from Annapurna Interactive, so I've definitely played Annapurna's game, like several games from that studio before, so I'm excited to be able to do that. Best mobile game. So I'm not really into like mobile games as much as other people are, but I'm definitely familiar with some of these. So the nominees were Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis, Honkai Star Rail, Hello Kitty Island Adventure. That sounds fun, and I haven't had the opportunity to play it, but that sounds like a lot of fun. Monster Hunter Now, and Terra Nil, and the winner of this was Honkai Star Rail. That's really interesting and really cool. Like, I have not had the opportunity to hear much about Honkai, but it might be something that I look into to check out. Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis has been something that people have been begging me to try to get into in terms of things. It's like, especially since you love Final Fantasy so much. Why haven't you played Ever Crisis yet? I'm getting to it. So many games. Never enough time in the day. But I definitely want to at least look into a couple of these and being able to kind of try them out for myself, see if it appeals. But yeah, that's really cool though. And then we get into best VR AR games. So I have not had the opportunity to play much in terms of the VR experiences. It is something that I would like to try out. I hope it doesn't make me sick in terms of trying out, but I would be interested in being able to try out VR gaming for myself or AR gaming. But the nominees for this were Gran Turismo 7, Humanity, Horizon Call of the Mountain, Resident Evil Village VR mode, and Synapse. And the winner of this was Resident Evil Village VR mode. I am not surprised at that winner at all, especially with respect to how well received Resident Evil Village was received in terms of the base game. So I'm sure the VR experience for a lot of people, it absolutely worked for them. So not surprised at all. Though I am interested and curious to see how the VR aspects worked for these other games that were nominated. So that might be something I put a pin in to be able to look at more. Best Action Game. So we have the nominees for this are Armored Core 6, Fires of Rubicon, Dead Island 2, Ghost Runner 2, Hi-Fi Rush, and Remnant 2. And several of these are 2s, so I'm wondering if that got split in terms of things. Dead Island 2, I've heard good things about. Ghost Runner 2, I have not even played the first one, so that's unfamiliar to me. Hi-Fi Rush, I definitely plan on playing. Remnant 2, I have not played the first one for that, but the winner of this was Armored Core 6. And I am not surprised at that at all, considering how long I've followed the Armored Core series and how much fun those games are. I think my first experience with Armored Core was Armored Core 2 on the PS2, if I remember correctly. And I cannot even tell you how many hours I spent on that game. It was so much fun. So I'm really happy to see that Armored Core is still going strong and doing well, and that it won for Best Action Game. I definitely plan on picking up the game myself, but it's really cool to be able to see. Best Action Adventure Game. So we have, for the nominees, Alan Wake 2, Marvel's Spider-Man 2, Resident Evil 4, Star Wars Jedi Survivor, and The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. And this was the one that The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom won. For an adventure game, I am not surprised to see that as the winner, because I figured if it won something, it would probably be this category. So I predicted that pretty well in terms of things. So I am, and I'll probably reflect on this like towards the end of this particular section. I'm surprised that Resident Evil 4 and Spider-Man 2 did not win as many categories. I thought they would have at least, like had more wins by this point of like looking at all the different categories, because the adaptations for those, especially even looking at Resident Evil 4 and how well that game was translated from the older version into the remastered and remake version. It was a full-scale remake of events and gameplay mechanics and things like that, and it seemed like it was done in such a way. I would not be I would have not been surprised if it ended up taking Best Action because of the dynamics of that game. I would not have been surprised at Alan Wake 2 taking this particular category, but for this, I think The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, it makes sense. It makes sense. I have not had the opportunity to play that yet. I still need to get through Breath of the Wild, so we'll get to that as soon as we can get to it. And I hope to be able to get to the other game nominees in this particular category as well when I get the opportunity. I at least have played through a little bit of Resident Evil 4, the remake. And I did play the original Resident Evil 4 remake, so I definitely noticed the difference in the voice acting and the overarching mechanics of the game and how fun that was. But yeah. Best RPG. Okay, this is an interesting category in terms of what was nominated and what won, but I'm not surprised at who won. The nominees of this were Baldur's Gate 3, Final Fantasy 16, Lies of P, Sea of Stars, and Starfield. I'm kind of baffled at the fact that Starfield got nominated in this because I would not think that particular game as being an RPG. It doesn't have the stat building mechanics that a typical RPG has, nor the gameplay mechanics that I would think of in terms of a role-playing game. The other ones I do think, like, deserve to be nominated, but Starfield was just kind of the one where it was like, I don't know what that was about. And then even if people were reflecting about the fact that Final Fantasy 16 felt more like an action game than an RPG in terms of, because when a lot of people think of RPGs, they think of turn-based RPGs, but RPGs can encompass games where you have stat building and things like that you can customizations that you can make to your characters in order to build upon like their gameplay mechanics. So I'm not surprised that Final Fantasy 16 was nominated. The argument could be that could have won this one, but I think based on what a lot of feedback was about these particular games and this group of games specifically, I think Baldur's Gate was going to win this one, and it absolutely did. Baldur's Gate 3 won for Best RPG. I could have also seen Sea of Stars win this one as well in terms of things. Lies of P, I have not had the opportunity to play yet to be able to reflect on the dynamics of that, but it could have easily been among the nominees. I don't think it would have won based on this lineup, but yeah, Starfield is kind of definitely the odd one out in terms of best RPG here, but good for Baldur's Gate. Best fighting game. The nominees were God of Rock, Mortal Kombat 1, Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl 2, Pocket Bravery, and Street Fighter 6. I am not surprised that Street Fighter 6 ended up winning this. I don't play a lot of fighting games, but based on what Street Fighter 6 looked like, I am not surprised at all that it won. And that should be interesting. I'm going to probably watch a few playthroughs of that before deciding whether or not I'm going to play that myself, but it looks like it's fun. Alright, best family game. Oh, this could have been any of these easily, I think, but the nominees were Disney Illusion Island, Party Animals, Pikmin 4, Sonic Superstars, or Super Mario Bros. Wonder, and it ended up being Super Mario Bros. Wonder as the winner for Best Family Game. I could have easily seen Disney Illusion Island being, or wait, it's not, Disney Illusion Island is a different game than the Disney Dreamlight thing. In terms of, I have to get the two straightened out in terms of the naming, because I was like, there's two prominent Disney games that are out that could technically fall into this category, and I don't want to get the wrong one, but Disney Illusion Island is a different game, like from Disney Dreamlight, so just FYI. But I'm not surprised Super Mario Bros. Wonder, based on the feedback for it and for the sheer amount of people who have been playing it, I'm not surprised it won. Best Sim Strategy Game. So this is one that massively bummed me out, because you'll know why in just a second. I'm going to read you the nominees. So the nominees are Advance Wars 1 and 2 Reboot Camp, Cities Skylines 2 Colossal Order, Company of Heroes 3, Fire Emblem Engage, and Pikmin 4. The winner of this category ended up being Pikmin 4. I was so bummed because Fire Emblem Engage was one of my favorite games this past year, and it got shut out. I mean, I'm not surprised that Pikmin 4 won based on the sheer popularity of it in terms of things, but Fire Emblem Engage, in terms of a strategy game, it was a phenomenal game, and I really enjoyed playing that game. I put so many hours into it this past year. I am very surprised in terms of strategy games that that there were other nominees that could have been put in this respective category, and they didn't make it even to the nomination round. But it is what it is in terms of things, and I'd rather just focus on what ended up winning. But I'm not surprised with the appeal and popularity of Pikmin 4 that it won, but I'm kind of bummed about Fire Emblem Engage. That just saddens me, but I wish it could have been nominated for more things for Fire Emblem because it's such a solid series. And I know Three Houses had been very, very popular, and I really enjoyed that game as well. I played through Fire Emblem Three Houses multiple times. And Fire Emblem Engage, I definitely plan on going another round with it in terms of things because it's just so much fun to play, but it is what it is. Best Sports Racing. So the nominees for this were EA Sports FC24, F123, Forza Motorsport, Hot Wheels Unleashed 2, and the Crew Motorfest. And the winner of this ended up being Forza Motorsport. I don't have any strong feelings about this particular win because I have not played any of these games. I do play sports games from time to time, but not as much as I used to. So it will be interesting. One of the ones that I did want to pick up was F123 to be able to play for myself, but I think I might also look into Forza Motorsport if it's available on other platforms. I think it might be an Xbox exclusive. I'm not 100% sure if it is, and I'll put it up here for your reference, a note to be able to see, but I may be limited in terms of what I can pick up depending on the console that it's on, but good for Forza Motorsport, though, for racking up on a few wins during this broadcast. Next category is Best Multiplayer. This was presented by Discord. The nominees of this were Baldur's Gate 3, Diablo 4, Party Animals, Street Fighter 6, and Super Mario Bros. Wonder. And the winner of this was Baldur's Gate. I'm not surprised at all. Baldur's Gate definitely cleaned up during this broadcast and during the award ceremony, so I'm not surprised at all. I don't have any strong feelings about this either way in terms of multiplayer, because I don't typically explore multiplayer options for most of the games that I pick up. Some of them I do. Some of them are very obvious multiplayers, like Final Fantasy NT, like in terms of what that ended up being. But others, I think I probably would need to explore that a little bit more to be able to see how it strikes me. But the fact that Baldur's Gate 3 has a good multiplayer option, that's awesome to hear, and I'm looking forward to being able to explore that. Next category is Most Anticipated Game. And I am not surprised. There are a couple of nominees on here that I would not have been surprised if it could have been either one. But I think there was a clear runaway winner here based on feedback. But here are the nominees. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Hades 2, Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, Star Wars Outlaws, or Tekken 8. And the winner of this was Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. No surprise at all. No surprise at all in terms of the hype and how much people enjoyed the remake. I enjoyed the remake myself. So I'm definitely anticipating Final Fantasy VII Rebirth as well in terms of everything that it has to offer and how it looks, the gameplay, the characters, being able to experience different parts of the storyline. I'm very excited to be able to do it. I'm also excited for Hades 2. I would not have been surprised if Hades 2 actually had taken it, though I think there would have been a lot of people who would have been disappointed with that based on the hype for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. But Hades really made a splash. I enjoyed playing Hades so much. I was still trying to get through most of the first game. I have the original Hades on both the Nintendo Switch as well as the PS5. I think I just picked it up, but let me see. See, I have it on the PS5 as well, so I'm excited to be able to try it out on both. And I actually got this for a really good price, so I'm glad to be able to experience it for myself. Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, that's a game franchise that I really want to be able to experience for myself as well. It's also known as the Yakuza series. I have not played any of the mainline Yakuza titles. I have played Judgment, and I also own Lost Judgment, which is an offshoot of the Yakuza Like a Dragon series, but I have not had the opportunity to play Yakuza. And I really do want to be able to experience those games as they're meant to be played in terms of things, and kind of catch up before the new one comes out. So I'm looking forward to experiencing Like a Dragon Yakuza myself and playing through it and give you my thoughts. But yeah, like there's a lot of hype that has been with Infinite Wealth based on the trailers and general reaction to it, but I'm excited about it. I can definitely look into Star Wars Outlaws and Tekken 8 as well. Tekken is a long-running franchise. Star Wars is long-running in terms of the gaming industry. So, yeah, any of these, I think clearly Final Fantasy VII Rebirth was going to take it, but I could have also seen Hades and Like a Dragon also, like, possibly taking it based on feedback. Content Creator of the Year, I haven't followed a lot of content creators in terms of the gaming industry, but I'm going to read this out anyway. Like, for those of you who are more familiar with it, you may appreciate this more. The nominees were Iron Mouse, People Make Games, Quackity, Spreen, and Cypher PK. The winner was Iron Mouse. So that's really cool. And it was really cool to see, like, in terms of the ceremony, that they honor content creators. Best Esports Game. And this was an interesting winner, but I'm going to read the nominees out first. Nominees were Counter-Strike 2, Dota 2, League of Legends, PUBG Mobile, and Valorant. And the winner was Valorant. I am not as familiar with esports. Probably the main titles that I'm familiar with on this esports thing are Counter-Strike 2 and League of Legends. So Valorant, I am not as familiar with. It should be interesting to be able to look into it more, though. So I will definitely keep my eye more on some of the esports that are coming out in terms of things, especially with how competitive and interesting some of those turn out to be. Likewise, Best Esports Athlete. I can't reflect too much on that, but I'm going to go ahead and read out the nominees and the winners. The nominees were Lee Faker Sang-hyuk for League of Legends, Matthew Zaiwu Herbat, Max Demon 1 Mazanov, Paco Hydra Rusawes for Call of Duty, Park Ruler Jai-hook, League of Legends, and Philip Imperial How Dozen for Apex Legends, and the winner was Lee Faker Sang-hyuk for League of Legends. I apologize. I have a little bit of a lisp / stutter, so my pronunciation may not be the best. But good for Faker for winning for League of Legends. And I kind of expected someone from League of Legends to actually win that in terms of esports because of how popular it is. But yeah. And then we have Best Esports Team. Nominees were Evil Geniuses, Fnatic, both of those from Valorant, Gaiman Gladiators from Dota 2, JD Gaming for League of Legends, and Team Vitality from Counter-Strike. And the winner was JD Gaming from League of Legends. I'm not surprised at that at all in terms of the popularity of League of Legends. So good on JD Gaming for that. That's cool. Best Esports Coach. Again, this is relative to those of you who follow esports more closely. I'm going to read out the nominees. Christine Potter Chai Evil Geniuses for Valorant, Danny Zonic Sorensen for Team Falcons, Counter-Strike, Jordan Goomba Graham, Florida Mayhem for Overwatch, Renmi XTQZZZ, Quantum for Team Vitality, Counter-Strike, and Yoonham Sung Young for JD Gaming, League of Legends. And the winner was Christine Potter Chai Evil Geniuses for Valorant. Really cool. And then the best esports event was, these are the nominees: 2023 League of Legends World Championship, Blast TV Paris Major 2023, EVO 2023, the International Dota 2 Championships for 2023, and Valorant Champions 2023. The winner of that was 2023 League of Legends World Championship. I'm not surprised at that at all. And then we're getting to the last category for this, quite a bit. So the first, so the nominees for this, for the last category are, for Player's Choice Award, Baldur's Gate 3, Cyberpunk 2077, Genshin Impact, Marvel Spider-Man 2, and The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. No surprise that Baldur's Gate 3 took this. I think that was the right choice as well, based on the popularity and based on the reception for between all of these games. Though I could have easily seen Marvel Spider-Man 2 or The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom possibly taking it because of positive impact for it, but I think Baldur's Gate 3 was the one to win it. So I think that's it for this part of the video in terms of my reactions to the Game Awards. I definitely had fun being able to watch the Game Awards. I originally was going to do a video live, like kind of reacting to the performance of Old Gods of Asgard doing Herald of Darkness, but I've seen that particular video 11 billion times, and let's face it, I'm going to probably watch that 11 billion more times. But I figured, like, since it's not a raw reaction, it's probably going to be redundant. But you know, I'm willing to change my mind. If you're interested in seeing my reaction to Herald of Darkness, let me know in the comments below, because I would be glad to be able to watch it a multiple times and give you my reaction and my thoughts to it, because it's such a great song. It was such a great performance. Poets really kicked butt and took names in terms of their performance. That is Old Gods of Asgard. I was so happy to be able to see that live, and I'm really like heartened by, as a longtime Poets fan myself, I'm really heartened to be able to see them have more attention with all the music that they've contributed to different games, whether it's Control, whether it's Rochard, which that was a really fun contribution that they did for that game, with Herald of Darkness for Alan Wake 2. Just being able to see, and even the Alan Wake franchise, generally speaking, but it's been really cool to see fans of Poets of Old Gods of Asgard come into like, you know, being able to know more about the band based on whether it's the gaming community or being able to see their old videos and other things. So really cool, and I'm glad to have been able to experience the Game Awards for this year. So let's move into my very brief responses for the reading vlog that ended up not happening, but I can still reflect on these particular books for you. So without further ado, let's get into that next section. So as far as a reading vlog was concerned, originally for this video, I had planned to do 3 books that I had recently picked up and kind of do a reading vlog of them. Unfortunately for I wasn't able to finish one of them. I did finish 2 that I had on the list, but unfortunately I wasn't feeling well enough to be able to chronicle my live reading of each of these. You can actually find my live reading notes on Goodreads if you follow me on one of these books, but I'm still, it's a work in progress for at least one of these, so I'll get to that when I get to it. But the books that I want to cover are for this for the purported reading vlog. The first one I did actually finish was Yellowface by R.F. Kuang, which, whoo, that packed a punch. I am continuously impressed with R.F. Kuang in terms of her writing style and what she is able to do with her respective stories. And this was, Yellowface was no exception. It's a very darkly humored reflection on a very real world topic that's going on in terms of the publishing industry, in terms of how it treats BIPOC communities, specifically with respect to Asian writers. And I thought that R.F. Kuang did a masterclass job, both being able to get into the head of this very interesting protagonist who is not likable at all, unreliable narrator, everything else. Basically, being in a situation where the protagonist sees her Asian author friend pass, and being a white woman who came across an unpublished manuscript basically taking that manuscript, publishing it under a pen name, and changing a lot of the aspects that her friend, and I say that loosely, friend in quotations, had done before she unfortunately passed away, and the fallout that happens throughout Yellowface in terms of what this author chose to do and the consequences of everything just going downhill from there. I'm gonna reflect more on my thoughts on Yellowface in specific detail without going into too many spoilers in another video, because I feel like that book in itself deserves its own video to be able to talk about. But I gave Yellowface 4 out of 5 stars. I might even bump it to 4.5 stars by the time I reflect on it. I have a review that I wrote on Goodreads that's posted right now, but it's possible that I may change the rating between now and when I get my full video review for Yellowface up, because it just does so many things very, very well, and I definitely see why it won the Goodreads Choice Award for Best Fiction in the Best Fiction category. It just did a masterclass between being able to get into the issues with the publishing industry, being able to present it in a darkly humored way, and being on point with so much of its commentary. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot, and it's one of my favorite reads of 2023. The second book that I was able to technically finish, at least in part, was the first part of Emily Rath's Pucking Around, and I'm reading Pucking Around right now as far as the main book is concerned. So like I'm kind of taking my time with it because it's an over 20 some hour audiobook, which that's its own issue that I'll probably get into when I do the review of that. But I did end up reading the very first part, the prequel novella that was included in Pucking Around, and I believe it was called That One Night. Let me double check to make sure that I got the title right for that. Yes, it was called That One Night by Emily Rath, which is the prequel novella to Pucking Around. So I don't really have that much to say about That One Night. It's a very short read. I read it on audio. It was included in the audiobook narration for Pucking Around, which I have on, which I used the audiobook credit to be able to pick up. But to kind of reflect on what That One Night is about, it's showcasing the relationship between Rachel and Jake as they meet one night at a bar and have a one-night stand in terms of things. And they don't identify themselves to the other, like they just happen to meet by chance after Rachel is being messed with by some guy in the bar who just wants to get with her, and then Jake intervenes and he's like, yeah, don't, like they kind of play it off to get the guy to leave her alone. But essentially, like, it showcases the chemistry between Rachel as well as Jake in this one night stand in terms of how they connect with each other. And I was convinced of the fact that they were connected with each other in terms of how steamy their encounter was, and like the respective scenes that were playing out from that particular novella. There were some things that bothered me with respect to some of the like some of the word choices and things it chose to focus on in that respective narrative, and I'll probably get into that more when I do my review of Pucking Around. But something that I wanted to note in terms of why I gave this 3 out of 5 stars was, while it served the purpose well of establishing how Rachel and Jake met each other, ended up having a brief one night stand and ended up splitting apart. I feel like for the audiobook narration, I did not like the male audiobook narrator for this. It felt like he was trying way too hard to embody Jake's voice in a way that seemed more, I guess, gruff than what he should have been given in terms of the character voice. So it felt to me that kept throwing me out of the story whenever I picked it up in terms of the audiobook. I've started getting used to it more as I've listened to Pucking Around, but I just felt like I don't think he was really the best voice for Jake. And I know he's a prominent audiobook narrator who has narrated several stories. I don't know exactly what didn't work this time around with his narration in terms of how it functioned with Jake's character in that one night. But for me, like, it did take getting used to, and it felt like I don't think he embodied Jake's voice in the way that I think it could have been carried, that it didn't need that much forcing to be able to put on like his attraction and like having that steamy gruff voice in terms of this stuff. I didn't think he was a good fit for that. That's just my opinion. Other people may have different opinions on in terms of how the audiobook comes across to them, but for me it did throw me out of the story a few times in terms of like the mismatch between that audiobook narrator as well alongside the character for this respective story. I thought the respective story was just the appropriate length for a novella. It didn't feel like it went on too long. And I thought it was a good a pretty solid introduction to the characters as well as the overarching story for Pucking Around. So I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. I thought it was fine for what it offered, and I'm trying to see like if I can finish Pucking Around as soon as I possibly can. It is on audio. For the physical copy of the book, or not just the physical copy, but the digital copy of the book, it's over 700 pages for an adult romance hockey novel, which to me, I had warning bells in the beginning of my head in terms of picking up Emily Rath's Pucking Around, in terms of thinking, isn't this going to be too long for just a contemporary sports romance? But we'll get into that when I do eventually post a review of Pucking Around by Emily Rath, but we'll see how it goes. And then the third book, which unfortunately I was not able to finish before posting this particular video, but I do plan on doing an individual video review of that particular book, is As the Lemon Trees Grow by Zulfa Kato, and it revolves around events in the life of a young aspiring doctor who is caught in events of what is 2011 Syria, and the respective hardships that she has to go through in that particular novel. I have not finished it yet. I thought it was a timely read to be able to put on my list in terms of being able to see the perspective of this of a Syrian girl who is caught in the midst of war and this conflict and the bombardment, and what what her family, what the people she knows are going through, and the decisions that she has to make. That really appealed to me. I know it's going to be a tough read. I'm already seeing it just from the first couple of chapters. This is going to be an emotionally charged read. In terms of me, like, it definitely made me emotional even getting through the first couple of chapters of it. But I'm looking forward to being able to finish the book and being able to give my thoughts about it on the channel when I have the opportunity. So that is it in terms of what I have read and have been reading, and also my reflections on the Game Awards. So I hope you enjoy. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, and hit the bell to be notified of when I post new videos. Thank you again for watching. I hope you have an absolutely wonderful day, and I'll see you next video.